and it's an honor and privilege to introduce and welcome Aftab Sabir, co-founder and director, Islamic Analytics. Mr. Sabir, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to be here. My name is Aftab Sabir. I am a speaker and co-founder and entrepreneur. I currently live in Canada, and I'm very pleased to be with you today. I'd like to first of all start off by thanking the organizers for the virtual forum and for giving me the opportunity to address this audience today. The topic of today's presentation is bracing up for an unbeatable future. Now, I really appreciated that idea and the opportunity to speak on this matter because while it's true the world around us is full of challenge and other matters related to COVID-19, the pandemic also provides us an opportunity for innovation and change. And for us to be able to manage our growth across this country and around the world, our ability to respond to challenge in a way that is effective and makes us better than we started will be critical to our success. What I want to talk a little bit about, it kind of comes to mind immediately, is the idea that the title of this conference is what enterprises can do, but we need to understand is that this is a cooperative effort. This is the cooperation of government, academia, and business, and even the media, NGOs, charitable sectors working together. So as we move into the further part of our speech, I want to make sure we're thinking about this idea that it is a cooperative effort across the ecosystem that was going to generate the growth that we need for us to be successful. So what are we talking about here? The World Economic Forum, in a recent article, said that creativity will be the key to competing against AI. And that would be the key for the future workforce to be successful. Before the pandemic, it was estimated that AI would take over 50% of human work in 15 years. The pandemic has accelerated that considerably. And in the words of Scott Belsky, Chief Product Officer at Adobe, he says, by focusing on education, retraining, and workplace tools, we can prepare for the future of work in which success depends on creativity, where success depends on creativity. And it's very important that we keep this in mind because as we see the impact of technology, it has very important risk factors that we need to be able to deal with. Among them, as we see the growth of technology and again, the transfer of work from regular sort of administrative type of jobs and other roles towards automation and evolution of AI and other technologies, this will amplify the impact of economic disparity. As technology continues the pace of evolution and automation, greater numbers of people are at risk of being left behind. Very important that we make sure that the success of our companies and our countries is dependent on amplifying the importance of all resources, to making sure we leverage their abilities and their skills and their potential to help us. Indeed, perhaps the most important, perhaps the impact to developing markets may be delayed, because certainly we see that, in Western markets, in developed markets. However, the fact remains that the pace of automation and evolution will continue to move the workforces towards the use of these technologies. So, what is the response and the answer to this? So, if you look back to the quote I just read, democratization of knowledge through online access to information is critical in the fact, and what that does is it drives two very important things. Number one, access to the internet. It is critically important that we drive access to the internet for as much of the population as possible, because education is the great equalizer. It is very much the case that those places where populations are educated, they're going to drive the spark of innovation that's required to move our countries and our enterprises forward. We started at the top of this meeting talking about the fact that we are bracing up for an unbeatable future. How do we get unbeatable? We are unbeatable by making sure that we are leveraging the skills and opportunity for all of our resources that we have available to us. And as I said, democratization of knowledge and learning is the great equalizer. Let me give you an example. Thanks to massive online open courses like edX and Coursera and Udemy and other things, DataCamp and other sort of these outfits that are offering online education and boot camps and this sort of thing. That means that the experience that would be available to me in Boston or in New York or in London or in Calcutta or in Islamabad or wherever else is going to be the same. So I can take Harvard's Intro to a Computer Science course at the same, wherever I am. I could be sitting in the desert with a laptop charged by a car battery. And as long as I have internet access, I can better myself and learn. So what does this mean? We now have an educated class that understands the new technology, and this is democratized across all layers of a society. Economic layers and social layers, religious layers, all these boundaries, become meaningless when it comes to the availability of education. Now, what is the next step? The next step, I started off my remarks talking about the importance of this being a collaborative effort. It's about a connection with various levels of elements of society. And what that means is then, it is very important that our governments provide us with varying levels of support to develop our ecosystems. Again, what can enterprises do? Enterprises will start by leveraging the availability of the talent pool and resources that we're creating through the democratization of knowledge and education. At the city level, at the municipal level, local groups supporting local entrepreneurs. This is where we have direct impact on our ability to cultivate a class of founders, entrepreneurs, thinkers, movers, shakers, individuals who are going to be able to provide value to the environment. We move one layer up from the city to the state or province level, where we integrate these groups together to create networks. What does that do? We know then what one group is doing, create expertise in one area, another group is doing something different, and we're able to then combine that skill together, those benefits together, that output together, the energy together, and then create something more than the sum of the individual parts. Very, very important to create the networks. What happens then at the federal level? Federal level, remove barriers, have favorable taxation regimes, incentives to support entrepreneurship and innovation. In the end, innovation is the lifeblood of our ability to brace up for an unbeatable future. We talked about what can enterprises do. Innovation. Innovation is what we're talking about, right? Now, having said all of that, then we understand that we have a continuum. We started off by talking about how creativity and our ability to be creative is going to be able to create that competition with those jobs that are no longer available due to AI and automation, but those resulting, the folks who are educated in these areas are the ones who are going to drive the next phase of the future. So what happens then? We then have, as I said, the ability to go from education to innovation. Now, what are the risks of not doing this? The risk of not acting means that certain members of society are left behind. And I talked about that before, that our ability to be successful, to make our enterprises successful, to make our societies successful is about leveraging the quality of the individuals available to us to the maximum effect. So if we're not using resources effectively, we may miss the next Steve Jobs or the next Elon Musk because the opportunity wasn't there to identify and cultivate this talent. With cultivation, like we cultivate a field, like a farm. We are growing, we have, as I said, we educate and then we innovate. And this happens through cultivation. When you cultivate the opportunity to grow and to make our society better, that is what we need to get to. So we've talked about a few things then over the course of my remarks. The first is the idea of the onslaught of technological change has been accelerated by the pandemic. So while it creates challenges, it also creates opportunities. And so then we leverage that opportunity by driving success across all parts of our societies, by democratizing access to information and knowledge through access to the internet and various other opportunities that we have that I've already talked about. What does that do then? That sets up a cohort of individuals that enterprises in society can then leverage and cultivate to be able to expand and move forward. All right. So where does this all get us to then? We talked about those things, we talked about some of the risks. So one thing I want to make sure that I leave with everybody is that education drives innovation, and innovation takes us to elevation. Education, innovation, elevation. And that's what we have to get to. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what enterprises can do to move things forward. It's what we can do as a society, as a global society, and a global village to brace ourselves for an unbeatable future. I want to once again thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to make my remarks today. And I wish you and all the participants all the very best for the rest of the sessions. Thank you.